Welcome to the Stoic Golden Tribe, where enduring wisdom meets the strength of presence, and where we uncover the truths modern society refuses to teach men. Have you ever looked into a woman's eyes and wondered, what is she really thinking? What does she truly want? And how can I connect with her, not just on the surface, but in a way that makes her soul recognize my strength, my truth, and my presence? Men today are taught to impress with bravado, status, or hollow words. But that never unlocks the heart of a woman who's truly worth knowing. What does? The right question. Asked with calm power, asked with real intention, asked by a man who knows who he is. In this video, we're going to uncover 4 questions, not lines, not tricks, but questions forged from history, psychology, and wisdom that make a woman see you as the man. We'll draw from real relationships that shaped empires, from ancient kings who won not only wars, but the loyalty of powerful women, from modern emotional intelligence that brings depth, trust, and fire back into connection. If you're ready to stop being just another guy and start being the man she sees, respects, and desires, then keep watching, like this video, share it with a man who's ready to rise. Subscribe for more unfiltered wisdom, and drop a comment below. Which of these 4 questions speaks most to your journey right now? Chapter 1. What are you most afraid to lose? This is not a question you ask in the first 10 minutes. It's not casual, it's not flirtation, it's real. And that's exactly why it makes a woman stop, think, and feel. Not just about her answer, but about you. When you ask a woman, what are you most afraid to lose, you're doing something rare. You're breaking through the mask of modern performance and inviting her into truth, vulnerability, humanity. But here's the secret. You can only ask this question if you've faced it yourself. Emotional intelligence, creating a safe mirror. This question isn't about control or manipulation. It's about emotional leadership. Most men try to connect with women by solving problems or impressing them. Few connect by holding space, by being the kind of man who can hear a raw answer without flinching, without fixing, and without judgment. When a woman feels that kind of presence, she sees more than a man. She sees a mirror of strength and safety. That kind of emotional intelligence makes her drop her guard. This is how men create intimacy, not with flowers or compliments, but with a courageous question that reaches the soul, the love of Marcus Aurelius and Faustina. Even a Roman emperor knew this power. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher king, is known for his wisdom in war and his writings on discipline. But few know the deeper story of his relationship with his wife, Faustina. She was not just a consort. She was a woman of fire, opinion, and independence. Behind closed doors, Marcus was known to speak with her not as a ruler, but as a man, intimate, thoughtful, and reflective. It's said that he often asked her questions not about duty, but about her fears, her griefs, and the things she cherished most. He once wrote in his meditations, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." To know her thoughts, he had to ask the kind of question that revealed them. Faustina, despite accusations and court rumors, remained loyal to Marcus to the end. Why? Because she knew he saw her. And he saw her because he asked. Modern application: how to ask it the right way. This question only works when it's asked with stillness. You don't toss it out during small talk or as some deep pickup line. You ask it when she's felt your depth. When she knows you're not trying to impress her, but understand her. Maybe you're sitting quietly together. Maybe you've shared a moment that feels real. And then, with eye contact and no pressure, you say, "Can I ask you something kind of deep? What's something you're most afraid to lose?" You'll feel her pause. You'll feel her measure whether you can handle her truth. Don't interrupt it. Don't comment too quickly, just listen. That moment, that silence, that's where she starts to see you as the man. Why it works. Women want to be seen, not saved. Here's a truth that modern men often forget. Most women aren't waiting for a hero, they're waiting to be understood. When you ask her what she's afraid to lose, you invite her to reveal what matters to her, her values, her relationships, her dreams. You enter her interior world, and very few men ever do that. The man who connects to a woman's mind and soul is the man she trusts with her body and future. But there's a deeper reason why this works. It also reveals you, because the moment you ask her what she's afraid to lose, she'll turn it back to you, and you better be ready to answer. So ask yourself right now before you ask her, what are you most afraid to lose? Your purpose, your peace, your family, your integrity? Knowing that truth gives you presence, and presence is magnetic. Drop a comment. What's one thing you're afraid to lose, and how does that shape the way you love, lead, or live? Chapter 2. What do you see when you picture real love? This question doesn't just ask about her past. It asks her to imagine, to create, to articulate her inner definition of connection. When a man asks a woman, "What do you see when you picture real love?" he's not just being romantic, he's stepping into her vision. And that tells her one thing: this man isn't just passing through, he's looking into forever. Emotional intelligence, seeing beyond the surface. In a world of instant gratification, shallow connection, and 5-second DMs, most women are tired. Tired of pretending, tired of settling, tired of not being seen. So when a man calmly, confidently asks her to describe her version of real love, he sets himself apart instantly. Why? Because he's not trying to define love for her. He's not cornering her into his version of connection. He's inviting her to express herself and be safe while doing it. The emotionally intelligent man knows that connection comes not just from attraction, but from vision. And the only way to lead a woman is to first see her. C.S. Lewis and Joy Davidman. Few stories better capture this idea than the relationship between C.S. Lewis and Joy Davidman. Lewis, the great Christian writer and philosopher, had lived much of his life in books and thought. But when Joy entered his life, she challenged him, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. At first, they clashed. She had her own ideas of love, rooted in experience and heartbreak. But over time, Lewis began to ask. He didn't dictate what love should look like. He listened to her dreams, her words, her reflections. They spent hours in dialogue, in letters, in conversations, not about lust, but about life. When he finally married her on her hospital bed after a cancer diagnosis, it wasn't just a romantic gesture. It was a man saying, "I now see what you see, and I want to live it with you." That's the power of vision. It draws people together into something eternal. How to ask it? Curiosity without control. You don't need candles, wine, or some perfect setting to ask this question. You need honesty, curiosity, and presence. It can sound simple. When you think about real love, what does that look like to you? What kind of connection do you imagine when you picture your forever person? Ask. Then shut up. Don't comment, judge, or insert yourself. Let her describe her idea of love, even if it doesn't match yours. That's where most men fail. The goal isn't to shape her answer, it's to understand it. Why it works, vision, builds trust. Every strong relationship is built on one thing: shared vision. When a woman feels that you care enough to hear her idea of real love, not just her body, her humor, or her hobbies, she sees you as rare. She sees you as the man who might just be able to build what she's only dreamed of. And this doesn't mean you need to become everything she describes. It means you care enough to know what's in her heart. That level of maturity is what separates the boy she forgets from the man she never stops thinking about. And here's the deeper secret. Sometimes she hasn't even thought of it yet. So when you ask this question, you're not just discovering her, you're helping her discover herself. That's unforgettable. Drop a comment. What's one vision of real love that you believe every man should be able to create? Chapter 3. What breaks your heart and still matters enough to fight for? This isn't small talk. This is a lightning strike to the soul. When a man calmly asks a woman, what breaks your heart and still matters enough to fight for, he's cutting through the noise. He's speaking to the warrior inside her. And when that part of her rises, she sees him. Not as entertainment, not as a maybe, but as a man of depth, conviction, and fire. Emotional intelligence, pain reveals purpose. One of the most powerful truths of emotional intelligence is this: where there is pain, there is also meaning. And most women carry a deep pain they rarely speak of. It could be family, betrayal, lost dreams, injustice, or simply the ache of being unseen in a world that moves too fast. When you ask a woman what breaks her heart and what she still wants to fight for, you are saying to her, I care about the battle that shaped you. You're not asking for a highlight reel. You're asking for her war story and her will to keep going. That kind of man is unforgettable. Historical fire. Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. Frida Kahlo wasn't just a painter, she was a force of grief, pain, and explosive self-expression. Her relationship with Diego Rivera was intense, chaotic, but deeply connected by purpose. Their bond wasn't perfect, it was far from simple. But Frida's art was born from tragedy, injury, betrayal, the inability to bear children. Yet she kept painting, kept expressing, kept fighting through color and symbolism. Diego, despite his flaws, always stood in awe of her fight. He once said, Frida begins painting with great anger, but finishes with the power of love. The connection between them wasn't smooth, but it was real. It was built on the understanding that pain, when honored, becomes art, becomes legacy. And that is what this question reveals, the fight behind the heart. How to ask it? With stillness and strength. This is not a question you throw around casually. It might come after trust has been built, after she's seen that you're not just curious, but present. It might sound like this. I get the sense you've lived through some heavy things. Can I ask, what's something that breaks your heart, but still matters enough for you to keep fighting for it? Let her take her time. Let her decide whether she trusts you with the answer. If she opens up, don't offer solutions. Don't philosophize, just be there. A woman remembers the man who let her bleed without flinching. Why it works. You become her witness, not just her want. Here's the truth most men miss. If you only admire her beauty, she'll forget you. But if you witness her pain and honor it, you become part of her story. Most people walk around guarding their wounds. But when someone sees those wounds and still respects them, it brings trust. And trust is more seductive than charm. It's more lasting than lust. It's the root of everything a woman truly desires in a man. She wants to know, can he handle my fire? Can he stand beside my heartbreak and not run? Can he see the part of me that still fights and fight with me? If your answer is yes, she will look at you differently. And if you've never asked yourself this question before, do it now. What breaks your heart, and what are you still willing to fight for? Because that's the foundation of your mission. And your mission is what makes you magnetic. Drop a comment. What are you still fighting for, and how does it shape the way you lead, love, and live? Chapter 4. If you could build a life with a man, what would that life look like? This is the question that separates men she dates from the man she builds with. When you ask a woman, if you could build a life with a man, what would that life look like? You are doing more than creating emotional connection. You're inviting her into something rare in today's world, shared purpose. This is the question of legacy, emotional intelligence, inviting her into vision, not fantasy. It's easy to dream about weddings, travel, or lifestyle goals. But this question isn't about fantasy. It's about substance. It's about her values, her deeper wants, and the life she secretly hopes someone is strong enough to build with her. Not for her, but with her. Emotionally intelligent men don't just pursue a woman's heart. They pursue her life design. They want to know, what do you really want? Not just in love, but in rhythm, in routine, in family, in freedom. When a woman feels that you care about the architecture of her life, not just the emotion of the moment, she sees you differently. She doesn't just feel wanted, she feels safe, she feels seen, she feels like she's being led. And that's rare. Historical power, John and Abigail Adams. One of the greatest historical examples of shared vision is the relationship between John Adams, America's second president, and his wife, Abigail Adams. They weren't just husband and wife, they were partners in revolution. While John was away helping build a new nation, Abigail wrote him letters, long, thoughtful reflections on philosophy, politics, and their shared vision for a better future. She wasn't just keeping the home, she was shaping the moral fabric of their family and the young nation they were trying to forge. In one letter, she famously urged John to remember the ladies when drafting new laws, proving she wasn't afraid to challenge him for the sake of a greater legacy. Their bond wasn't based on superficial romance, it was based on shared mission. And even through distance, war, and uncertainty, they remained fiercely united because their life was built together. That's the kind of love that doesn't fade. That's the kind of man she follows, not because he demands it, but because he's building something she believes in. How to ask it? With curiosity and calm. This question isn't about locking her into your dream, it's about inviting her to share hers. You can ask it gently, no pressure, no expectations. If you could build a life with a man, not just love him, but build with him, what would that life look like for you? And when she answers, don't interrupt, don't analyze, just listen. Let her speak about what matters. Maybe it's kids, peace, freedom, a cabin in the woods, a legacy of meaning, a life without games. And after she's done, then you speak. Not with promises, but with truth. That sounds powerful. I can see why that life matters to you. I've been building a vision too. Now you're not just a lover, you're a man with direction. And that direction is what women respect. Why it works. She sees the man behind the words. Any man can talk about dreams. Few men can carry the emotional weight of someone else's. When you ask a woman to describe the life she would build with a man, you're not asking for a fantasy. You're offering her a test of your emotional presence, your integrity, and your maturity. The man who can ask this question without flinching is the man she considers building with. Because here's what you're really saying. I don't want to impress you, I want to understand what matters to you. I'm not here to control your life. I want to see if our lives align. I'm not looking to pass the time. I'm looking to build something that lasts. And when she sees that subtle strength behind your words, she'll see you differently, not as a phase, as the man? Drop a comment. What kind of life are you building, and what kind of woman do you want beside you on that journey? These 4 questions aren't tricks, they're not lines, they're not strategies to manipulate or impress. They are gateways to her mind, to her heart, to her past, and most of all, to her future. Because when a woman meets a man who has the courage to ask these questions with strength, stillness, and genuine presence, she sees what most men are too afraid to become. Not just a lover, not just a leader, but a witness to who she really is and a partner in the life she longs to build. So ask with intention, listen with focus, and lead with conviction, because the man who asks the right questions doesn't chase, he doesn't perform, he doesn't beg, he stands, he listens, and the right woman leans in, not because he demanded it, but because he earned it. This is what it means to be a man of presence, a man of emotional power, a man who doesn't just attract, but inspires. And that kind of man, he changes every room he walks into. He commands not just attention, but respect. Now, if this message spoke to you, like this video, share it with a man who's ready to step into deeper connection. Subscribe for more real, raw wisdom. And drop a comment below. Which of these 4 questions are you ready to ask, and why? You've just been sharpened. Keep rising, keep building, and never forget, the world remembers the man who dares to ask the right question at the right time with the right spirit.